Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video I'll be showing you how to repair your non-working cruise control and your jumping speedometer. If your speedometer needle jumps up and down like this, I'll be showing you guys how to repair that. The truck in this video is a 1990 Ford Bronco. Most of the cars are going to be the same, very similar, so you'll be able to take a lot from this and fix your car and truck. Most newer cars are not going to have a speedometer cable. This truck does. It has a speedometer cable and it has a vehicle speed sensor and it has an ABS wheel sensor. This truck is a special case. It has an electronic transmission but an analog speedometer. So the two communicate with each other via this speed sensor here that goes inside the transmission. It has an analog and digital output. This truck also has an ABS wheel sensor. The newer ones, 92 to 96, only have this. This controls the speedometer, the cruise control, and your anti-lock braking system for the rear wheels. So we will be covering the installation of all of these, and this should fix your cruise and speedometer issues. So again, this particular truck has all of these components. Your car might only have one or two. I do recommend you guys to replace all of your parts with genuine OEM parts. Sometimes I know they are hard to find, so try your best. If you can't, get a really good quality aftermarket part. So I'll be showing you how to install the speedometer cable first. Let's get started. Okay, so now first and foremost, you're going to want to remove your lower trim panel pieces. On the headlight knob, you'll see here there's a groove. You put in a flathead and depress the metal, and the headlight knob pops right off. And then you just pry off this lower panel. This one has a screw here. Just remove that screw. And then set these both down here to the side. Next, you're going to want to remove this column cover here. There'll be two screws, one on each side. Remove the column cover. Okay, inside the column you need to remove the gear selector indicator. So we'll be removing that. It's one bolt. It has an adjustment on it, so you're going to have to try to reset it to where it was before. And then you unhook it from right here. Just like that. Now here you should encounter quite a few screws. Primarily going to have a couple at the top and then some down here. I'm actually missing a bunch down here anyways. The two at the top I still have, so I'm just going to remove those. And these are a 7mm. Now you're going to want to get your shifter out of the way. Let's go all the way down. And then just slowly pull this out towards you. There's some clips behind it, so you don't want to break them. Okay, and then move this bezel piece and get it out of the way. Now here you have the cluster. It should also be a few 7mm screws, so let's remove those. Once you have all your screws out, pull back the cluster carefully. Now the speedometer cable can be a little tricky to unloosen. On one end it's got a tab that you press it in and then you pop the cable out. There's two electronical connectors, one on each side. You squeeze those together to pull them out. So got the speedometer cable out. And again, these can be a little tricky to do because they're old, but they'll work. Okay, the cluster's nice and free, you pull it out. Okay, so on this truck, the speedometer cable actually goes down to the floorboard. I have it uncovered here. You just have to peel back the carpet a little bit. Again, this is for a 1980 to 1996 Ford Bronco. The 96 is not going to have a speedometer cable, by the way. The 80 to 91 will. All you have to do is just pry up on the grommet here, which I've already done. Just pry up on the grommet, and then you're going to feed the cable down into that hole. Okay, so here we are underneath the vehicle. So I actually just pushed the grommet into the hole. This is the hole that was going through the floorboard there. And you'll be able to pull out this cable underneath the vehicle. So y'all have to follow this cable back to where the speed sensor connects it to. Now here's the cable, and this is the speed sensor. In this particular situation, the vehicle speed sensor is bolted to the back of the transfer case here by the drive shaft. And this is where the cruise control plug plugs into the speed sensor right here. Now this is a 4-wheel drive model. If you have a 2-wheel drive model, this speed sensor will be plugged into the back of your transmission. If you don't have electronic cruise control, the speedometer cable will be plugged directly either in transfer case or plugged directly into the back of your transmission. So there's a lot of different specs depending on what vehicle you have, which Bronco, which truck, but it's all basically the same, just plus or minus certain parts that you have here. And again, this truck here has all of them. Okay, so first I'm just going to remove both these cables. Now this speedometer cable has a little clip in here that you can pull out from the back. It doesn't come out all the way, so you just pull out the cable there. That's the speedometer cable. And then this is the electrical connector for the cruise control. Same deal, you really just got to pull on it to get it out. Just like that. This appears to be in an 11mm nut, so we just pop that off. Just like that. Okay, now comparing these two sensors here, this is the old vehicle speed sensor. You can see it's actually got the ring gear here. This is your speedo gear basically. You're gonna have to remove this to put it onto the new sensor. But I just wanted to mention that this is the opportunity you can take if you've got oversized wheels and tires. Maybe your speedometer isn't reading correctly. By purchasing a different gear tooth, you can actually resolve that. And you would have to install it here on your speed sensor. So that's how you would resolve that issue if you have bigger wheels and tires. On the 96s, they do not rely on this. They use what is called a PSOM, and that calibration is done on your actual speedometer itself. And again, I just wanted to let you know that this is like a multi-purpose sensor for the E4OD transmission. It controls the cruise control and the vehicle speed that your ECM needs for your shift points. So that's another good tidbit there. And of course your speedometer cable here. So now that I have this all ready to go, I'm going to pop it back in, and then we're going to compare the speedometer cable right now. The first thing you're going to want to do before you install your new cable is compare the length. Now this is the old cable here. This is the original cable. Pull it out, stretch it out, and measure the length. If you get a universal cable or an aftermarket cable, just make sure the length is the correct length. Too short is going to cause a serious problem. You're not going to be able to connect it. If it's a little bit too long, it's doable, but if it's way too long, it's not going to work either. I picked up an aftermarket cable, and it was actually just a little bit too long for my standards, so I'm not going to be using it, because fortunately I was able to find a genuine Ford cable that is much nicer than the aftermarket. It actually comes with a brand new grommet already installed, so I'll be taking advantage of that. I don't have to reuse this grommet here, which I'm not even sure if that's even possible. So the aftermarket cables do not come with grommets, so this is a nice feature, and I will be installing the original Ford cable. Okay, so we're installing the new vehicle speed sensor. Just put that in there right there. Clamp it in. Or plug in the wire. Alright, now I'm going to feed the cable to it. Install your speedometer cable here. There it is. So now we have all that replaced. Let me show you how this cable is going to route. And again, don't forget to route your cable correctly into the clamps here. So then this would just snap into this clamp here. Make sure you route your new cable exactly how it was. You're going to want to go from the back of the truck and feed it all the way through till you get to the floorboard here, and then just, you know, just push it all the way in. Make sure that you use all the mounting that the original cable went through. There. And there's the grommet. I'll push that through now, but see here, there's a clip. The cable just goes into that clip in that fashion there, like that. Alright, now for all you 96ers out there, this is going to be the sensor that's going to primarily control your rear anti-lock brakes and your speedometer. Controlling your speedometer is also going to be controlling your cruise control. So this sensor here really is a pretty multi-use sensor as well, but it only has one bolt. And again, the 1990s used these, the 90s and the 91s with the electronic transmission. They had the rear ABS. This is again a 1990 Ford Bronco, so your Ford truck, any Ford truck or van will be exactly the same in the same year. So you just pop out that bolt, unplug the connector here, and then just remove the sensor like that. This little guy here, there's a ring gear inside the differential that sends a signal to this magnet right here, and these can get really gunked up. So it's really good to replace them. Even if yours isn't bad, but you're having like poor fuel economy, bad shifting, you'd be surprised what this sensor here can do, since it controls a lot with what the computer knows as far as the vehicle's speed goes. Especially on the newer models, you know, the 92 to 96s. This little puppy here can actually do a lot of damage if he goes bad. So, you know, just replace them. It's one bolt, pops right out. It's really easy to do. Let's install a new one. Really easy to do. Okay, now the next step is to install the cluster. Let's get these electricals installed first. So here's the cluster. This one goes in here. Okay, there's one. There's the second one. And then install the cable. Okay, when they're in, just kind of jiggle it, get it back into place here. You're going to want to get a screw in so it doesn't pop back out. Install the shift indicator as well. So let's put that on. Take the cable and slide it onto this groove here. Just like that. And over here you can adjust it. So you'll be able to adjust it here. So if you have it set properly, your gear selector should be spot on the money. Neutral, drive, and etc. Alright, tighten up all your bolts for your cluster. Now we can install our bezel here. Again, this clamps in a little bit here on each side. So you can put your gear selector back up. Get your tilt going again. Right there. Just make sure when you install your wiper knob, you put it in the right way. So it's going to go in there like that, and it just pushes in. Alright, same thing with the headlight. And it just pushes in. Well, that does it for this repair. I hope it helped you guys out a lot. If it did, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.